A couple of weeks ago, I did part one of the information about parasites, and for some reason, it did not upload onto the web, onto my channel. So I'm going to repeat that today. And this is one of the books that I used for that. But parasites are a real thing and cause many different diseases. This is one of Hannah Kroger's books, which I will mention her books quite frequently. But anyway, The Parasites, the Enemy Within. And I'm going to start off talking a little bit about how people don't really think, people in Western world, middle class communities don't think that they get parasites. But parasites are able to be picked up from foods that you buy, just from your own kitchen, from people can pass them on. So I'm going to read a couple things from here. Worms can cause physical trauma to the body by perforation of the intestines and the circulatory system, the lungs, the liver, and so on. Worms can also erode and damage or block certain organs. They can lump together and form a ball, which can be seen as a tumor, and they can get into the brain, the heart, the lungs, and make untold misery for the body. Parasites have to eat, so they rob us of the nutrients. So if you're taking vitamins, they may be getting healthier and taking the best of the vitamins and nutrients that you're ingesting. The last and most important thing that they do is they cause damage by poisoning us with their toxic waste, because they're eating, and parasites are taking things from you, but they have waste that they leave too. And so a person who has parasites may feel bloated, tired and hungry, and you may have allergies, excess gas, and unclear thinking. I'm going to talk about some of the worms, and in my second video about parasites, I think I just covered up to roundworms, and that one that would not download or upload. But I want to talk about the different types of roundworms, and roundworms have very different species. The hookworm, the whipworm, and the pinworm are all different types of roundworms. And symptoms to look for when you have roundworms, and all of us can probably relate to one of these symptoms: grinding of the teeth at night, intestinal gas, allergies, asthma, snoring, digestive disturbance, anemia, restlessness, weight gain around the full moon, sometimes 7 to 8 pounds. So you might have any of these from various other reasons and causes, but if you have pretty much all of them, or several of them, I would be willing to think that you might consider that you have some type of worms in your body. The weight gain around the full moon and some of these other symptoms may be exacerbated during the full moon, because the full moon is when the worms are usually more active. So if you start finding, if you know when the full moon is coming, I would mark it on my calendar, and then seeing if all of these symptoms or the symptoms that you have are being exacerbated during that time. If you feel more gassy, having more digestive and allergy symptoms during that time. So there are lots of things that you can take, some that you can, find right in your kitchen. But also worms are related to many cancer cases. They don't always make tumors, but you just think about your body. You have some invader there that should not be there. And a parasite is a living organism, so it's living off of what? What is it consuming? What is it eating? So that's why I think people don't want to realize or accept that they may have worms and different parasites in their body, because those things are living, and they're living in your body. So the roundworms, they create things in the intestines, and usually they will migrate. Usually they're in the stomach, but they can live off of so many different things in your body, and they might pass through various organs, causing damage as they go. The hookworm is one that does eat off of different things, but roundworms create their own oxygen so that they can proliferate. And just think about that going on in your body. This book has pictures of different worms, which this one I think I will show you. This is a picture of the hookworm. And the hookworm does eat into things. It does have teeth. And some of the other worms you know of, you've probably heard of. This is one of the examples to show you, if you have these on the heel of your foot, check your feet. And this is one of the indications that you might have worms. The pinworm is small, but it's very dangerous, and so the pinworm can cause many problems too. The pinworm may crawl down to the intestines and pass out of the anus, and they may lay eggs while they're going that way. So I'm not going to, I think you should get the book and read it, because when you read this book, you start to really feel, and looking at your stool, which you should do anyway, is look at your stool to see if there are worms. And you might not realize what they are, but sometimes they're alive. Quite often they're alive when they come through your stool. So you'll be aware of that. But if you're having some of the symptoms that I mentioned before, grinding of your teeth, intestinal gas, allergies, asthma, snoring, digestive disturbances, anemia especially, restlessness, and weight gain, or combination of these symptoms during the full moon, then you should check for worms. And you may go to the doctor, and the doctor may check for worms, but I don't think that all of the worms that you have, the different parasites, are being tested for. And all of you know the tapeworm is a different worm that falls under the tapeworm family. And there's blood tapeworms, there's liver tapeworms, and these tapeworms can grow very long. And if they're long, sometimes people will have like a ball in their stomach. They may have a tapeworm, and that tapeworm is building up, and there may be like a hard knot or something a feeling of something that's inside of the stomach. And it may move at times. It may be feeling like gas, but it could be a tapeworm. And I have seen people that pass tapeworms. I've seen a friend of mine pass a tapeworm that was over a foot long. So anyway, what can you do for tapeworms? There are several things. You can get tapeworms from drinking water, some water that's untreated, mountain water. So I always wonder about spring water too. But some of the things you can do to prevent parasites is drinking apple cider vinegar, 1 part apple cider vinegar, like 1 tablespoon in a glass of water every day. And I've understood that mulberry twigs boiled in white grape juice are good. And sassafras oil, rubbing on the side of rubbing on the bottom of the foot twice a week is supposed to help. But there are some herbs that you can take. Let me see if I can find that. I know that black walnut hull is one of the herbs that is recommended for worms when you're going to do a cleanse, any type of cleanse. You should do a parasite cleanse before, so that when the cleanse things are passing out as a result of the cleanse, the parasites are passing out as well. And a lot of times you do a cleanse, and then right after that you start to have some of the same symptoms that you had probably a week, 2 or 3 weeks later, and you start feeling hungry and you start eating things. I'm trying to find here we are. Here's some of the herbs that have anti-parasitic properties. And I mentioned black walnut and wormwood. There is a combination. There's an herbal formula called black walnut combination, a wormwood combination, and it does have black walnut in it. And that's the one that I primarily know about. But also pumpkin seeds, garlic, cramp bark, capsicum, which is like pepper, cayenne pepper, hot pepper, thyme, black walnut hull, black walnut leaves, wormwood, cassia, cloves, male fern, and, as I said, sassafras. So you can buy these and take them. You should start taking them before the full moon. If you buy a bottle of herbal product, start taking it about 5 days before the full moon. And then after you have taken a bottle of it, I suggest if you take a full bottle, then after you finish that bottle, that would be about 30 days, then do a cleanse and observe what happens when your body is cleansed and see if you don't feel better. I do a liver cleanse several times a year, but I do a parasite cleanse before. And in Hulda Clark's books, she also recommends that you do a urine cleanse and have your dental work up to date, because there's so many other things that happen when you do these cleanses. Not only parasites come out, but toxic chemicals also can leave your body, and you want your body to be strong and ready for all this cleansing. I don't know if there's anything else. As I mentioned, there's the roundworms. I think I talked about the single cell parasites on the second part of this, but they're protozoa infections that you can get, and because they're very small, and many times some of these parasites, like food handling, and I've mentioned, and I think I've mentioned it many times, that someone that has parasites or has used the restroom and not washed their hands, the parasites could be there, and they're picking fruit or handling fruit or food, and the parasites may get on there. And if you don't wash the foods properly, then it passes on to you. So the other one I mentioned was the tapeworms, and then flukes. There are different flukes: liver flukes, lung flukes, blood flukes, and then the spirochetes. Spirochetes are, like they said, it's a spiral-formed organism, which sort of reminds you of a protozoa, and there are many, many types of them, and they're very widespread and difficult to diagnose. But if you're feeling tired, a light fever, muscle pain, joint pain, interrupted sleep patterns, and aching pains in your feet, you might think about checking your body for the spirochetes. And that's the last one. in adults, like I said, there are several things you're going to have: chronic fatigue, immune dysfunction, gas and bloating are two of the main ones, and anemia, because worms will be eating the nutrients that you should have. And probably, if they're present in large numbers, they can cause blood loss to create iron deficiency in you. So anyway, this is a book that you should read. As I said, it has drawings and pictures about the various parasites. And then check yourself. I mentioned before that they're spiritual and physical causes of all disease, any ill health. And you should check yourself periodically, and you can do it by going for a complete blood test to test for parasites, which some may show up, but learn to use the pendulum or muscle testing so that you can find out what is going on with your body. And that's that for today. I know that's a lot, and it's kind of ugly to think about having things, live parasites in your body, but most of us do have one or two of them. And I will sign off with that, and there is a part 2, and anytime you have questions, you may call me. I can only do a limited video, so there's a lot more information that I have that you may want to seek, so you can call or email me.